Dun dun dun. Okay, that's should be almost over. So it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Community is back! Yay! Good evening, everyone. Congrats on getting first, Metsu. How has your week been? Hey, Firefly. So, how is everyone doing tonight? Oh, Lunaton. With an egg. So, we are doing more American folk tales, which is a combination of true and considerably fiction larger than life people. Can't really call them fairy tales because they're seriously thinking of purchasing this book. It's interesting. I don't know if they've done any edits since the original copy, but I'm fairly sure I have a link to it in my page. Make sure. See my shop. Yep, it's there. Non-children's books narrated for stream. Again, I don't know if it's been edited or updated from my copy or not. Oh, come on. Copy link. Thank you. Why is it not letting me add the link? Okay. Yeah, I do have a link to it. Again, that is the hardback copy. I think there is a paperback too, but that's from a 2016 printing. Let's see. And my book is from 1944. And some of the inside pages have seen better days. They cut up the dust cover and taped it on the inside so it would still be with it. But I also think I paid a whole $2 for my copy. So because this is part of the dust cover that's taped on the first page of my book, just because it was falling apart. So they trimmed it and put it inside. And I took a picture of it to use for the stories. We're starting a new section of part 1, Because part one is Heroes and Boasters. Last week, we finished the Backwoods Boasters. And today, we get to start with the Pseudo Bad Men. So it should be a few more interesting stories. I did put more of a disclaimer in my tags, so hopefully it won't be too bad, but you never know. Apparently I need to look up some more of the Botkin books, because Botkin did kind of a series of American folklore along the lines of how Lang did European folklore. So I may have to expand my library and get another bookcase or two. Because all my bookshelves are full. And I keep finding more books. Not that I'm addicted to books at all, but, you know, being a fairy tale wolf in a bookstore, it is kind of addictive. Honestly, I like the smell of old books. But I will be careful not to lick any of the old green covers I've got. Because all I need is to, die of arsenic poisoning. That would be a really bad way for this wolf to go out. I have to explain why I was licking books. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm drinking decaf coffee right now. Someone suggested it might help with my anxiety. I don't think my anxiety is caffeine related, considering how much of it I drank before I started getting anxiety. Anyway, let's get into it. 2. Pseudo Bad Men. I'm a two-gun man and a very bad man and won't do to monkey with. Cowboy Yells. With the passing of the keel boat, many Mike Fink's tribe became raftsmen, joining the new crew of hardy adventurers that brought the forests down to the towns in the form of rafts, put together in cribs of logs or boards, and then taken apart to be sold. The typical raftsman, writes Charles Edward Russell, in Rafting on the Mississippi, 1928, was reckless, dissolute, daring, and all that, but he was more. He was humorous with a style of humor all his own, and largely his own language in which to frame it. Emotional at bottom, sophisticated on the surface, a singer, a dancer, an improviser of wild yarns, ready with fist, dagger, or pistol. Something of a poet, curiously responsive to charitable appeals, something of a Lothario, something of a pirate, something of a blackguard, and in profanity equipped with resources incomparable for richness of invention and competence of authority. Lumber rafting on the upper Mississippi lasted roughly through 1840 to 1915, but the old-time raftsmen began to disappear when the raft boat or steamboat used to tow and push rafts came in about 1865. The hardihood of The hardihood of the raftsmen of the floating days tended to be measured by the strength of their whiskey, which was so powerful that it would take the hair off a buffalo robe. Or, to cite another school of thought on the buffalo robe test, Mike Fink drank so much whiskey that he destroyed the coating of his stomach, and the doctor told him that before he could get well, he would need a new coat for it. Mike thought the thing over and said when he had a new coat for his stomach, he would have one that would stand the whiskey, and he made up his mind that buffalo robe with the hair on it was just a thing, and so he sat down and swallowed it. He could drink about any amount of whiskey after that, and never so much as wink. When the buffalo robe failed as a stomach landing, Oakley did the trick. Something of the toughness of the raftsman and the humor of his invention may be gleaned from the following advice of one raftsman to another. "Hey, don't let that stuff drop on that like your boots," I heard one raftsman say to another that was passing him the bottle. "I spilt some on my new shore shoes last week, and it ate the uppers clean down to the soles." "Was them shoes tanned with a hoodlum?" asked the other in a quietly interested way, as if he were seeking scientific knowledge. "No, sir. That there leather was tanned by the best hemlock bark, and the shoes cost me $3 in Red Wing." "Now say, my friend," gently remonstrative, "don't you know better than to buy leather tanned in hemlock? What do you want is leather tanned in oakum, and whiskey don't eat it. You see, whiskey and hemlock, they get together on social terms, same as you and me, and then the whiskey does its deadly work and swallers the leather. But the whiskey and oakum's enemies, and when they meet, whiskey gets licked every time. That's why I keep my stomach lined with it. Oakum's been from the bamjam tree that grows in India to the height of more than 1,000 feet. Its wood is so hard they have to cut it with a cold chisel. It stands to reason that it's stronger than hemlock. Try some on your stomach, and then your liquor won't get to your head like this." Okay. The hardihood of the raftsman tended to be measured by his boasting. The famous raft scene in Life on the Mississippi, 1874, which gives us our first glimpse of Huck Finn, Mark Twain has immortalized in The Screamer. The Screamer is a ring-tailed roar grown maudlin, who boasts about his weakness rather than his strength. He is the bogus bad man, who has already been glimpsed at the canebrake, cockalorum, and the cock-of-the-walk pose of Mike Fink. West of the Mississippi, the scream of the backwoods boaster and bully passed into howls of the pseudo and mock bad man, who, in his boasting chants and yells, proclaimed his intestinal fortitude with more and more weird anatomical details. In addition to the usual animal traits, he claimed a mythical animal nurse and a more than usual endowment of teeth, other than hard substance in his makeup. Crockett, too, it will be recalled, boasted about being half chicken hawk and steel trap, and of his wilderness birthplace, born in a canebrake, cradled in a sap trough, and clouded with coonskins. No one liked to play bad man more than a cowboy on a spree, and from his favorite interjections, "Whoopee!" originally a call to animals, making whoopee has become a general term for carousing. But if a would-be desperado announced that it was his time to howl, this was chiefly for the benefit of the uninitiated, for the rest knew that with the true bad man or killer the rule was shoot first and talk afterward. On the frontier, however, apparent rage and vigorous language had their uses in bluffing and blustering one's way out of a tight place, as well as letting off steam. By such devices, an Iowa squatter is reported to have got rid of a prospective settler from Illinois who casually remonstrated against anyone holding more than one claim, and not even that unless he lived on it. "My name, sir, is Crimein Cragen. I own 14 claims, and if any man jumps one of them, I will shoot him down at once. Sir, I am a gentleman, sir, and a scholar. I was educated in Bangor, have been in the United States Army, and served my country faithfully, am a discoverer of the Wapsie. Can ride a grizzly bear, or whip any human that ever crossed the Mississippi, and if you dare jump one of my claims, die you must." The dramatized bad men yells not only lean heavily on one another, but also become mixed with literary or semi-literary parodies of burlesques. Such, frankly, is The Bad Man of the Brazos, beginning, "I'm a blizzard from the Brazos, on a tear, hear me hoot. I'm a lifter on the flowing locks of hair, hear me hoot. I'm a rucker from the Rockies, and all of town talk is a pirate from the Pampas on the shoot." Okay, well, that's the first song of this section. There are so many songs in this book. And I haven't gotten to the songs about the sections on singing. They're a lot further back in the book. But anyway, now we get to start talking language. Raftsman Talk. The river's earliest commerce was in great barges, keel boats, broadhorns. They floated and sailed from the upper rivers to New Orleans, changed cargoes there, and were tediously warped and pulled back by hand. A voyage down and back sometimes occupied 9 months. In this time the commerce increased until it gave employment. In time, this commerce increased until it gave employment to hordes of rough and hardy men. Rude, uneducated, brave, suffering terrific hardships with a sailor-like stoicism. Heavy drinkers, coarse frolickers, and moral stites like the Natchez under the hill of that day. Heavy fighters, reckless fellows, everyone elephantinely joyful. Yeah. Elephantinely jolly, foul-mouthed, profane, prodigal of their money, bankrupt at the end of the trip, fond of barbaric finery, prodigious braggarts, yet, in the main, honest, trustworthy, faithful to promises and duty, and often picturesquely magnanimous. By and by the steamboat intruded. Then, for 15 or 20 years, these men continued to run their keelboats downstream, and the steamers did all of the upstream business, and the keelboatsmen selling their boats in New Orleans returned home as deck passengers on steamers. But after a while, the steamboats so increased in number and in speed that they were able to absorb the entire commerce, and then keelboating died a permanent death. The keelboating became a deckhand and mate or pilot of a steamer, and when steam berths were not open to him, he took a berth on the Pittsburgh coal flat, or in that pipe raft constructed up in the forests towards the sources of the Mississippi. In the heyday of the steamboating prosperity, the river from end to end was flaked with coal fleets and timber rafts, all managed by hand, and employing hosts of the rough characters whom I have been trying to describe. I remember an annual progressions of nightly rafts that used to glide by Hannibal when I was a boy. An acre or so of white, sweet-smelling boards in each raft, a crew of 24 men or more, 3 or 4 wigwams scattered through the raft's vast level space for storm quarters, and I remember the rude waves and the tremendous talk of their big crews. The ex-keelboatsmen and their admiringly patterning successors, for we used to swim out a quarter of the mile and get on these rafts and have a ride. By way of illustrating keelboat talk and manners, and now the departed and hardy remembered raft life, I will throw in this place, a chapter from a book which I have been working at, by fits and starts, during the past 5 or 6 years, and may possibly finish in the course of 5 or 6 more. The book is a story which details some passages in the life of the ignorant village boy, Huck Finn, son of the town drunkard in my time out west there. He has run away from his persecuting father and from a persecuting good widow who wishes to make a nice, tooth-telling, respectable boy from him. And with the slave of the widow's has also escaped. They have found a fragment of lumber raft, it is high water in dead summertime, and are floating down the river by night and hiding in the willows by day, bound for Cairo, whence the Negro will seek freedom in the heart of the free states. But in a fog they pass Cairo without knowing it, and by they begin to suspect the truth, and Huck Finn is persuaded to end the dismal suspense by swimming down to a huge raft which they have seen in the distance ahead of them, and creeping aboard under cover of darkness and gathering the needed information by eavesdropping. There was 13 men there, while they was watching the deck, of course, and mighty rough-looking lot, too. They had a jug and 10 cups, and they kept the jug moving. One man was singing, roaring you may say, and it wasn't a nice song, for a parlor anyway. Roaring through his nose and strung out his last words in every line, well, very long. When he was done, they kind of fetched in the engine war whoop, and then another would sing, and it begun. There was a woman in our town, and the town did well. She loved her husband dearly, but another man twisted said, well, singing to relay. She loved her husband dearly, but another man twisted away. And so on, 14 verses. It was kind of poor, and when he was doing the start to the next verse, one of them said it was a tune an old cow died on, and another one said, oh, give it a rest. And another one told him to take a walk. They made fun of him till he got mad and jumped up and began to cuss the crowd, as he wouldn't lay any thief in the lot. They was all about to make a break for him, but the biggest man there jumped up and says, so where you are, gentlemen, leave him be, he's my mate. Then he jumped up in the air 3 times and cracked his heels together every time. He flung off a buckskin coat that was all hung up with fringes and said, you lay there till the Chippewan's done. And flung his hat down, which was all over ribbons, and says, you lay there till the suffering is over. Then he jumped up in the air and cracked his heels together again and shouted out, whoop! I'm an old original iron-jawed, brass-mounted, copper-bellied corpse maker with the wilds of Arkansas. Look at me, I'm the man they call sudden death and general desolation. Sired by a hurricane, damned by an earthquake, and half-brother to the cholera. Nearly related to smallpox on my mother's side. Look at me! I take 19 alligators and a barrel of whiskey for breakfast, and when I'm in most robust health, and a bushel of rattlesnakes and a dead body when I'm ailing. I spit the everlasting rocks with my glance, and I squelch the thunder when I speak. Whoop! Stand back and give me room according to my strength. Blood's my natural drink, and the walls of the dying is my music to my ears. Cast your eye on me, gentlemen, and lay low and hold your breath, for I'm about to turn myself loose. Congrats on second guilty. All the time he was getting this off, he was shaking his head and looking fierce and kind of swelling around in a little circle, tucking up his wristbands and now and straightening up and... No trouble. Tucking up his wristbands and now and then straightening up and beating his breast with his fist, saying, look at me, gentlemen. When he got through, he jumped up and cracked his heels together 3 times and let off a roar and whoop! I'm the bloodiest son of a wildcat that lives. Then the man that started the row tilted his old slouch hat down over his right eye, and then he bent stooping forward with his back sagged and his south end sticking out far, and his fists shoving out and drawing in front of him. So he went around in a little circle about 3 times, swelling himself up and breathing hard. Then he straightened and jumped up and cracked his heels together 3 times before he lit again. That made them cheer. And he began to shout like this. Whoop! Bow your neck and spread, for the kingdom of sorrows a coming. Hold me down to earth, for I feel my powers are working. Woo! I'm a child of sin, don't let me get a start. Smelt glass here for all. Don't attempt to look at me with a naked eye, gentlemen. When I'm playful, I use the meridians of longitude and parallels of latitude for a scene, and drag the Atlantic Ocean for whales. I scratch my head with lightning and purr myself to sleep with thunder. When I'm cold, I boil the Gulf of Mexico and bathe in it. When I'm thirsty, I reach up and suck a cloud dry like a sponge. When I'm hot, I fan myself in an equatorial storm. When I rage, the earth hungry, famine follows my tracks. Whoop, and bow your neck and spread. I put my hand on the sun's face and make it night on earth. I bite a piece out of the moon and hurry the season. I shake myself and crumble the mountains. Contemplate through leather and don't use the naked eye. I'm the man with a petrified heart and bitter iron bowels. The massacre of isolated communities is my pastime of my idle moments. The destruction of nationalities is the serious business of my life. Boundless vastness of the great American desert is my enclosed property, and I bury my head on my own premises. He jumped up and cracked his heels together 3 more times before he lit. They cheered him again. And as he come down, he shouted out, "Woo-hoo! Bow your neck and spread, for the pet child of calamity's a-comin'." Then one of the other went to swelling around and blowing again, and the first one, that they called Bob. Next, the child of calamity chipped in again, bigger than ever. Then they both got in at the same time, swelling round and round each other and punching their fists most in each other's faces, and whooping and jawing like Injuns. Then Bob called the child names, and the child called names back. Then Bob called him a heap rougher names, and the child came back with him in the worst kind of language. Next, Bob knocked the child's hat off, and the child picked it up and kicked Bob's ribbony hat about 6 foot. Bob went and got it and said, never mind, this weren't going to be the last of the thing, because he was a man that never forgot and never forgave, and so the child better look out, for there was a time a-coming. Just as sure as he was a living man, and he would have an answer to him with the best blood in his body. The child said no man was willinger than he for that time to come, and he would give Bob fair warning now never to cross his path again, for he could never rest till he had wired it in his blood. So much for his nature, such that though he was sparing him now on account of his family, if he had one. Both of them was edging away in different directions, growling and shaking their heads and going on about what they was going to do, but the little black-whiskered chap skipped up and says, "Come back here, you couple of chicken-livered cowards, and I'll thrash the 2 of you." And he done it, too. He snatched them and jerked them this way and that and booted them around and knocked them sprawling faster than they could get up. Why, it weren't 2 minutes till he begged the dogs, and how the other lot did yell and laugh and clap at the hands of the way through and shout, "Sail in, corpse maker! Ah, him again, child of calamity! Boy for you, little Davy!" Well, it was a perfect powwow for a while. Bob and the child had red noses and black eyes when they got through. Little Davy made them up all the way his own cowards and sneaks and not fit to eat with a dog or drink with a nigger. And then Bob and the child shook hands with each other, very solemn, and said they had always respected each other and was willing to let bygones be bygones. So they washed their faces in the river, and then they was down in a loud order and stand for the crossing, and some of them went forward to man the sweeps there, and the rest went aft to handle the after sweeps. Yep. Definitely Mark Twain's in there. And, of course, language. So, I like having to use the language like that, because I ain't got no Texas accent otherwise. Now I get a lot of shorter things, so. Crockett's brag. I'm that same David Crockett, fresh from the backwoods, half horse, half alligator, and a little touch with the snapping turtle. I can wade from Mississippi, leap the Ohio, and ride upon a streak of lightning and slip without a scratch down a honey locust. I can whip my weight in wildcats, and if the gentleman pleases, for a $10 bill, he may throw in a panther. Hug a bear too close for comfort, and eat any man opposed to Jackson. Thinks brag. I'm a salt river roarer. I'm a ring-tailed squealer. I'm a regular screamer from the old Mississippi. Woo! I'm very infant who refused his milk before his eyes were open, called out for a bottle of old rye. I love the women, and I'm chock full of fight. I'm half wild horse and a half cockeyed alligator, and the rest of me is crooked snags and red-hot snapping turtle. I can hit like a fourth-proof lightning, and every lick I make of the woods lets an acre of sunshine. I can outrun, out-jump, out-shoot, out-brag, out-drink, and out-fight, rough and tumble and no-holds-barred, every man on both sides of the river from Pittsburgh to New Orleans and back again to St. Louis. Come on, you flatters, you barters, you milk-white mechanics, and show me how tough I am to chaw. I ain't had a fight for 2 days, and I'm a spailing for exercise. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Oh, these are going to be so much fun to edit. That says, "Hooray for me! Hooray for me, you scapegoats! I'm a land screamer, I'm a water dog, I'm a snapping turtle. I can lick 5 times my own weight in wildcats. I can use up the engine by the cord. I can swallow niggers whole, raw or cooked. I can outrun, outdance, outjump, outdive, outdrink, outholler, and outlick any white thing in the shape of a human that's ever put foot within 2,000 miles of Big Mississippi. Ooh, holla, you varmints, holla for the snapping turtle, or I'll jump right straight down your throats and quicker nor a streak of grease lightning can down the niggers. I'm in the fur of a fight, and I'll go to death for a fight, and a fight if I must, or I'll tar up that earth all around, and look cantankerous, or else I'll have to be salted down and save me from spilling, as sure as North Mississippi alligators make fly traps on their infernal dougly jars." Again, excessive use of language in the story. Bully of the Salt River. The bully of the Salt River War was named Skipworth Branch. He slept in his hat, chawed his victuals with his foreteeth, and would scream through his nose. He sunned himself in a thunderstorm, went to meeting in 2 horses, never turned out for a man or beast, and was sworn to look everything he saw, except his own mother and father. He would walk 10 miles at any time of day or night for a fight. He called himself Great Oak that grows half its length underground and turns up its roots unexpected. He sometimes took the name of Floating Iron and Melted Pewter, red-hot cannonballs, or Big Snag in the desert. He said he lived in the mountains and ate thunder. He had a neckcloth at home made from double chain lightning, and he could never come to its full height till its clouds were lifted a piece. He called himself a west wind full of prickles, a dose for old King Tuck, and a drawer plaster of the Allegheny Mountains. Now, the fact that he was too short to live long and screamed himself to death one night to show his spirit. I knowed him when he were a boy, and he seed him when he were a man, and went to his funeral when he were dead. He were the pride of the country, and could outscream 7 catmounts tied together. Billy Earthquake. As we were passing by the courthouse, a real screamer of the knob, about 6 feet 4 in height, commenced the following tirade. "This is me, and no mistake, Billy Earthquake, Esquire, commonly called Little Billy, and all the way from Norfolk to Muddy Run. I'm a small specimen you see as remote circumstance, a mere yearling, but cuss me if I ain't in the true imported breed, and I can whip any man in this section of the country. Whoop! Won't nobody come out and fight me? Come out, some of you, and die decently, for I'm a spieling for a fight. I ain't had one for more than a week, and if you come out while I'm flybrowed before sundown, it's a certainty to come up in tow. Maybe you don't know who Little Billy is, so I'll tell you. I'm a poor man, it's a fact, and I smell like a wet dog, and I can't get run over. I'm the identical individual who grinned the whole menagerie out of countenance and made a ribbon-nosed baboon hang his head and blush. Woo! I'm the chap that towed Broadhorn up the Salt River, where the snags were so thick that the fish couldn't swim without rubbing their scales off. Fact, and if anyone denies it, just let 'em make their will. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Maybe you've never heard of the time a horse kicked me and I put both his hips out of joint. If that ain't true, count me up for a catfish bait. Whoop! I'm a very infant that refused its milk before its eyes were open and called out for a bottle of old rye. Whoop! I'm the little Cupid. Talk about grinning off the bark of a tree. 'Tain't nothing. One squint of mine at a bull's heel would blister it. Oh, I'm one of the toughest sort. Live forever and then turn into a white oak post. I'm a genuine article, a real double-acting engine, and I can run out, outswim, I can outrun, outjump, outswim, chaw more tobacco and spit less, and drink more whiskey and keep sober than any man in the localities. If that don't make 'em fight, walking off in disgust, nothing will. I wish I may be kiln dried and split up into wooden shoe pegs, if I believe there's a chap among 'em that's got the courage enough to call her hand. These are just fun to say, honestly. Oh, crap, another song. Okay. Oh, this is a song from earlier. Bad Men Yells. A certain class of chant-like yells, emphasizing the badness of the man yelling them, belongs to the lore of the bad man. I suppose, though, oftener than not they originated in the spirit of mockery. The cowboy liked to yip them out when he was playing a bad man, for the cowboy was truly the playboy of the Western world. Here is a yell that hard customers from the country of Harrisburg and Houston used to give 50 years ago. My father, who was a very quiet man, used to quote it to enforce his contempt for the fly up the creeks, from whom he learned it. Raised in a canebrake, fed in a hog trough, suckled as a she-bear, click of a six-shooter is music in my ear. Whoopee! Farther up the creek you go, the worse they get, and I come from the head of it. Whoopee! Another boast, adapted to a Texas river, was as follows. Born high up on the Guadalupe, raised in a thorny prickly pear, quarreled with the alligators and fought the grizzly bears. H.F. Sowell, who knew Texas frontier life, as few men who have written of it, says that in the Rangers and Pioneers of Texas, San Antonio, 1884, page 330, occasionally in some western village you will hear the voice ring out the night the words, something like these: wild and woolly, hard to curry, raised a pet but gone wild, walked the Chisholm Trail backwards, fought Indians and killed a buffalo, hide out the little ones, and then you may expect a few shots from a revolver. It is a cowboy out on a little spree, and likely he will not hurt anyone, that some friend who is sober generally comes to him and relieves him of his pistol, and all is soon quiet again. Sowell adds that such yelling cowboys were exceptions. Human man-eaters. Pseudo Bad Men of the I eat humans for breakfast kind functioned in the presence of tenderfoots by fierce looks and snorts, by savage remarks, and sometimes by the recital of speeches ferocious in phrase and committed to memory. These men would wild up whenever they obtained the impressionable audience, and then their braggadocio often was picturesque, even though made up at the least of the parted strings of stereotyped Western anecdotes. Old harmless Jim, when his cups were fervently relate, I'm the toughest, wildest killer in the West. When I'm hungry, I bite the noses off of living grizzly bears. I live in a box canyon where everybody is wild, and shoots up the fills in the air plumb full of lead, so there ain't no air to breathe. Further up the canyon... Hey, Michael. Yeah, it's nice to get in numbers. I'm getting to talk about crazy Texans. So I have this almost 80-year-old book I'm reading. I guess 82 years old now. About the chaos of the Old West and people who were full of themselves. If you need to do any after-stream care, by all means, feel free. You get to hear me talk like a drunken cowboy. Since you were a kid? Dang. So, my copy was an estate sale find. I thought, well, I've finished up the biography of Bird Conklin, so why don't I read some other cowboy stories? Yeah, in that area, you probably do. There's several Treasuries of American Folklore. This one covers some of them, but then Botkin went through and did a series of them for different areas of the country. So, it might. Oh yeah, I've still got a few more sections before we get to it. This is the Pseudo Bad Men. The next one is Killers, which will have Bill Hickok and Willie the Kid, Jesse James. And after that, Freelances, which got Roy Bean, Buffalo Bill again. After that is Miracle Men. Then we start getting into the real big stories. That's where Paul Bunyan is, and Feebolds, and John Henry. And of course, songs. Well, means settle back and listen to me rant like a madman. Let's see. Yeah, John Henry's a good one. Right now, we're still more on the boasters and liars section, so. Let's see. I'm going to start over with the beginning gems. It says it's hilarious so far. I'm the toughest, wildest killer in the West. When I'm hungry, I bite off the noses of living grizzly bears. I live in a box canyon where everybody is wild and shoots so much they fills the air plumb with lead, and there ain't no much air to breathe. Further up the canyon you goes, the wilder the people gets, and I live at the very top end. Whoop! If tenderfoots continued their presence, Jim would persist in the strain, and perhaps, because of him, a diary or two would receive an entry. Saw today a real Western bad man. He carried 2 large revolvers in holsters which hung just above the knee. This marks as being one of the called 2-gun men. The person totes weapons low. If only Westerners were auditors, Jim would soon quit his oratory to give sleep and snore himself to peaceability. Bill, when occasionally beset, would announce, I live in Jack County, Texas. There's where the human man-eaters come from, and I'm one of 'em. Every person they don't take no fancy to is drug out and scalped alive. My hum range is so plumb full of murder and sin and hell ain't won't be treat me. He too presently would cease his clatter and would slumber back to sobriety. This Bill and this Jim and the other men of their type had no wish to try it out with any real Westerner. for it was a foregone conclusion as to which side in such a contest would weaken, back down, and pull out. The actual bad man was short on conversation. He spoke infrequently, and when he opened his mouth, what he said was to the point. He usually talked in quiet tones, for his nerves was always well in hand. His nerves had to be thus in order for him to do the jobs which he was essayed. The Boasting Drunken Dodge. When a group of cowboys reached Dodge City from Texas, they had not slept in a month They had not slept in a bed for months, nor had they shaved or enjoyed a hot bath or a haircut. Their clothing was dirty and often ragged. They had not seen a woman perhaps for half a year. The saloons in Dodge would never shut their doors. On the opening day, the proprietor always threw away the keys. The red lights in back of the saloons beckoned. First, the cowboys got rid of their extra hair, bought new outfits of clothing, and then they tanked up. They were ready to go. Some were quiet with dissipation, others talked, perhaps to keep up their courage, as does the boasting drunk. Dodge was the toughest town known in 1883. Raced on 6-shooters till I got big enough to eat ground shotguns. When I'm cool, I'm warm in the Gulf of the Bay we're in. When I'm hot, there's an exonorial breeze that fans me fevered brow. The moans of widows and orphans is music to my melancholy soul. Me, the boy that chewed the wad goat, eat the butted of the goat off the bridge. Born in the Rocky Mountains, suckled by a grizzly bear, and 99 rows of jaw teeth and not a single hair. What the hell? Yeah, it's a song. I'm not singing it, though. 32 inches twin the eyes, and they fed me with a shovel. Mount his wild ass and keep the crag from crag. And they roar like laughter in a tomb. Jump from precipice to precipice and back to pots again. Snatched and bold-headed and spit on the place where the hair come off. Take a leg off him and beat him over the head with the bloody end of it. Slap his head up to a peak and knock down the peak off. Take his eye out and eat it like a grape. Give me 100-yard start and I'll plumb run the Honolulu without even wetting my feet. Shoulder 500 bushel of shot and wade through solid rocks up to my shoulder blades. Any damn man don't believe it. I'll lick him on a sheep hide and never tromp on the trail. Knock a belch out of him that'll whiz like a nail. Knock a belch out of him strong, longer than a rail. Sharp enough to stick a pig with. Okay. Other Cowboy Boasting Chants. I'm wild and I'm woolly and full of fleas, ain't never been curried below the knees. I'm wild she-wolf from Bitter Creek, and it's my time to howl, whoopee! Wasp-nets and yellow jackets, the higher you pitch, the sweeter my navy tastes. Born in the Guadalupe at 10 miles below Duck Pond, raised in the Rocky Mountains, hung one spur where the collar works, and the other where the crupper works. 4 rows of jaw teeth and holes punched for more. Steel ribs and iron backbone and a tail put on with screws. Double clawed, knock-kneed, and bandy shanks. 9 rows of teeth and holes punched for more. I really worry about these songs. Oh, well. This one actually has music. And me without a treble platform. I don't have trouble. I really should. I hate songs. Cowboy to Pitching Bronco. Born on the Colorado, sired by an alligator. I'm a bold, bad man from Critical Creek, Colorado. When I get back, there'll be a tornado. Get higher, the higher you get to, the low from me. Want to get a pony back and throw my niggers through the crack. I'm a-telling you, flamboozle to do. Born in Colorado, sired by an alligator. I'm a bold, bad man from Cripple Creek, Colorado. When I get back, there'll be a tornado. Get higher, the higher you get's too low for me. Want to get back my Want to get my pony back and throw the niggers through the crack? I'm telling you, flam doozle done. Flam doozle done. Never heard that one before. Just flam doozle done. Cowboy Yells. Half horse, half alligator, with a little touch of snapping turtle. Climb a streak of lightning and slid down the locust tree 100 feet high, with a wildcat under each arm and never got a scratch. Yippee, yip-ho! I come from this country riding a lion, whipping him over the head with a 45 and picking my teeth with a 38 and wearing my 45 on each hip, using cactus for a plier. Whoopee! I'm a two-gun man and a very bad man and won't do with a monkey with. Whew, I'm a bad man. Whoopee! Raised in the backwoods, suckled by a polar bear, 9 rows of jaw teeth and double coat of hair, steel ribs, wire intestines, and a barbed wire tail, and I don't give a dang where to drag it. Whoopee! These are just... Might be able to do a couple more of these, because these are hilarious. The Purple Blossom of Gingham Mountain. Let all the sons of men bear witness, sings his chant as he goes skating, stiff-legged and about the ring, as like I relates, arms bent and arch-backed. Let all the sons of men bear witness, and awful let a cowering varmint named Sam Aaronites size me up and shudder. I'm the maker of deserts and the wall-eyed harbinger of desolation. I'm kin to rattlesnakes on my mother's side. I'm the king of all the eagles and full brother to the bars. I'm a blue-eyed lynx to whiskey crossing, and I weighs 4,000 pounds, and he's a steamboat. I'm put a crimp on a catamount with nothing but my living hands. I broke a full-grown alligator across my knee, tore him asunder, and showered his shrunken fragments over a full section of land. Hugged a cinnamon bar to death, and made a grizzly plead for mercy. Who'll come and gouge with me? Who'll come bite with me? Who'll come and put his knuckles in my back? I'm Weasel-Eye, dead shot. I'm the blood-drinking, scalp-tearing, knife-playing demon of the Sunflower Creek. The flash of my glance will deaden a white oak, and my screech will anger back a panther plumb off his native sheath. I'm a slayer of the slaughter and a cook who eats my dead. I can wade the Cumberland without wetting myself and drinks out in the springs without touching the ground. I'm a swing cat, but it warns you not to be misled by my looks. I'm a flying bison and a devastating rides upon my breath. Whoop, whoop, whoopee! I'm the purple blossom of Gingham County, and where that is the son of thunder that'll try to nip me in the bud. Whoop, whoopee! I'm here to fight or drink with any sport, every one or both. Whoopee! Where is a stately stag to stamp his hoof and rap his antlers with my proclamations? Where is that bounding buck? Whoopee! Whoop, whoop! These are just really fun to narrate. Oh, this one has a horse. Oh. I gotta get it. No, it hasn't. And this is from 1891. The book was printed in 1944. Ugh. From college to cowboy. I found Cheyenne, Wyoming, one of the wickedest places in the world when I visited 12 years ago. It was a town of saloons, dance houses, and faro banks. Travelers from the Black Hills used to stop at Cheyenne and commit the last wicked act before burying themselves in the hills. Of course, all this has changed now. While there, I wrote a letter to the New York Sun about the wickedness town and earth, and the humor and amused the people, especially delighted MacDonald, the manager of the leading dance house. He dramatized my letter, calling it Eli Among the Cowboys, and the play was enacted for many nights. I was the hero of the play, and was represented as a captured humorous lecturer. In the town, they leveled. In the town, yeah. In the play, there are three cowboys and their revolvers as the hero and compelled him to deliver a humorous lecture, or tell a funny joke, or die on the spot. Thank you for the stretch and hydrate. I was the hero of the play and was represented as a captured humorous lecturer. In the play, three cowboys leveled their revolvers at the hero and compelled him to deliver a humorous lecture, or tell a funny joke, or die on the spot. It was funny to see a man surrounded by desperados and telling jokes to save his life. At the conclusion of the funny speech, they would all dance around with cocked revolvers, singing. First cowboy. I'm the howler of the prairies of the west. If you want to die with terror, look at me. I'm chain lightning. If I ain't, may I be blessed. I'm the snorter of the boundless prairie. Of course. He's a killer, he's a hater, he's a great annihilator, he's a terror of the boundless prairie. Oh, shit. I missed that. Damn. Okay, I will restart the musical after the ads. See you in a few. Okay, I think the ads are over. My timer disappeared, so I'm hoping they're over. Now let's see if I can do the singing a little bit better. Because I want to think of what kind of musical this would be. The chorus is hilarious. Okay. I'm a reader in my channel. That's because I'm on for Micah. I'm usually in there lurking otherwise, so. Yeah, a lot of the Pokemon are like newer generations. Like Lilligant, I think was, oh, I honestly don't know. I haven't played Pokemon professionally. Let me out. Okay. Oddly enough, they did include the music for this one, but it's 3 cowboys singing and then a chorus. So, now let's see how I can do this. I'm the howler of the prairies of the west. If you want to die in terror, look at me. I'm chain lightning, if I ain't, may I be blessed. I'm the snorter of the boundless prairie. He's a killer, he's a hater, he's a great investigator, he's the terror of the boundless prairie. I'm the snoozer of the upper trail, reveler, murder, and gore. I'm bust of Pullman coaches on the rail, and than anyone who's worked the job before. He's a snorter, he's a snoozer, he's a great trunk line abuser, he's the man who put the sleeper on the rail. I'm the double-jawed hyena of the east. I'm blazing bloody blizzard of the states. I'm a celebrated slugger, I'm the beast, I can snatch a man bolt-headed while he waits. He's a double-jawed hyena, he's a villain of the scene, he can snatch a man bolt-headed while he waits. Honestly, the chorus lines are hilarious. The Pike County Riptail Roar. That's kind of where it comes from. I wonder if I could try to sing it to that one. No, it's not the right beats for it. No. The Pike County Riptail Roar. The smartest fighters come from Pike. I can whip my weight in wildcats and match for a dozen Injuns and aunts. Can tackle the lion without flinching. I'm the Pike County, Missouri, gentlemen, and they call me Fliptail Rooster. They call me the Riptail Roarer. There's actually a female listed in these. Interesting. A female Riptail Roarer. My first sweetheart gave me this description of herself. You just ought to see me rigged out in my best. My bonnet is a hornet's nest, garnished with wolf's tails and eagle's feathers. My gown's made of whole bear's hide, with a trail and a tame. I can drink from the branch without a cup, shoot a wild flying goose, and wade the Mississippi without getting wet, and scream out a catamount, and jump over my own shadow. I'm good, strong horse sense, and know a woodchuck from a skunk. I can dance down any foe in Arkansas, and cut through the bushes like a pint of whiskey amongst 40 men. Your sow. I kind of like that one. Woman version of the Rip Roar. Washoe. We reached Carson City about 9 o'clock in the morning. It's the capital of the silver-producing territory, Nevada. They shoot folks where They shoot folks here somewhat, and the law is rather partial and otherwise to first-class murderers. I visit the territorial prison, and the warder points out the prominent victims. Say this one. I visit the territorial prison, and the warder points out the prominent convicts to me thus. This man's crime was horse stealing. He's here for life. This man is in for murder. He's here for 3 years. But shooting wasn't as popular in Nevada as it once was. A few years since, they used to have a dead man for breakfast every morning. The reformed desperado told me that he had killed enough men to stock a graveyard. A feeling of remorse, he said, sometimes comes over me, but I'm an altered man now. I ain't killed a man for over 2 weeks. What'd you poison yourself with? He added, dealing a resonant blow to the bar. There used to live in Carson City a notorious desperado who never visited a town without killing somebody. He would call for liquor at some drinking house, and if anybody declined joining him, he would once shooting. But one day he shot a man too many. Going into St. Nicholas drinking house, he asked the company present to join him in a North American drink. One individual was rash enough to refuse. With a look of sorrow, rather than that of anger, the desperado revealed his revolver and said, Good God, must I kill a man every time I come to Carson? And so saying, he fired and killed the individual on the spot. But this was the last murder for the bloodthirsty miscreant. This was the last murder the bloodthirsty miscreant ever committed, for he aroused citizens, pursued him with rifles, and shut him down on his own dooryard. It would really suck to get shot for refusing to drink with a guy. You don't turn down a free drink. Under this section having so many songs, I got through it really quickly. I was kind of expecting it to take longer. Not sure I want to start the next section yet. I didn't expect Pseudo Bad Men to be all singing. But that's just the way it is sometimes. It'll be really fun trying to get it all edited over the weekend. So many retakes and maybe re-sing some stuff for the weekend. I don't know if Kel has posted it. I'm sure she has. Okay, yeah. On my YouTube channel, it's where I put all these crazy things. And I started another playlist just for this book. I do a playlist per book. Everything else I have on this one... If somebody sent them, that would be cool. Yeah, on that playlist is everything else I've done from this book. And so this is the 3rd week I've read from it, and it's the 2nd section I've finished. This book will probably take me a while. I'm still in part 1. I've done the Backwood Boasters, which took me 2 weeks. Now Pseudo Bad Men, which is today. I'll probably do Section 3 Killers next week. And that'll cover Wild Bill Hickok, Billy the Kid, Jesse James. Ooh, Sam Bass is in here. Don't hear much about him, really. Oh, it's Stackley. So it's got Wild Bill, Billy the Kid, Jesse James, Quantrell, Sam Bass, and Stackley. That's 60-some-odd pages. That might take 2 weeks to get through. Then we got Freelances, which is mostly lawmen. Can't say I've ever heard of Bigfoot Wallace. That'll be interesting to read. That's a, they don't have a page on Quantrill in this book. Oh god, it's not even, it's a song. Oh. The only thing I have for Quantrill is a song. 4 verses and a chorus. Oh, it's in 6/8? Dang. It's in 6/8 and it's mostly eighth notes. Now, you burned down your hometown? Yeah, it's, let's see, can I spell it right? Yeah. I said the only thing they have in here that I've seen is a song. The song is actually about him burning Lawrence. The song was from Frontier Ballads, heard and gathered by Charles J. Finger. So it was gathered in 1927. Huh, by Doubleday. Imagine that. Yeah, I will definitely get into the killers next week. Which means this may be a short stream tonight. So I hate starting a section halfway through the night. Which means I need to find some trade. So who's on? Who is on? It's a Thursday. Who's on Thursdays? Oh, Folklore just started. Hey, I heard a follower. Thank you for the follow. And I don't know if you're here when I posted the link for Matsu, but I actually have this book on one of my sales lists. Let me open that up real. I have too many windows open. But oh, come on. This book is a current copy of what I'm reading. Where's Black Tavern Dragon Dick? Okay, let's... Luck Tavern Dragon is reading Aragon. Guess we can do that. So, I've got my raid messages. Pick whichever one applies. Can I spell Black Tavern Gaming? Well, there's a Bethita that just popped up in the chat. So, I will be doing fairy tales tomorrow, because that's what we're doing Fridays. And I hope I see everyone then. And have a good night.
In the hollow of the night, shadows weave and twist. The wolf has told his stories, wrapped in mystic mist, lurking in the silence where the echoes softly play. The echoes of forgotten tales, dimming as they sway. The hours drip like candle wax, slowly melting gold. Lands of frost and twilight, secrets yet